Will Josh Giddey continue his ascent as a shooter next year for the Chicago Bulls? We're going to discuss all that and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls Central and Chicago Bears Central YouTube pages and podcasts. And today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control over your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. On today's episode, we're going to talk about Josh Giddey. And, we started the process of looking at one stat for each Chicago Bulls player. And we're going to are they going to go over, under that stat in the 2025-26 season? We're also going to talk about one of the biggest concerns for the team coming into the 2025-26 season and Noa Essengue at EuroBasket. So we're going to get into that. Let's start off with Josh Giddey. Yesterday, we talked about Coby White, and we used the points per game number for Coby White. Will he go over, under 20 points per game next season, with him being right over 20 points per game last season for the Chicago Bulls? Now we're going to flip that to Josh Giddey. While Josh Giddey's contract is still not here, and I guess one of the things we could talk about is over, under 30 more days until Josh Giddey actually signs his contract, but we're not going to focus on that right now. I want to focus at a specific number for Josh Giddey, right? Now, I know people would look at defensive rating or things like that for Josh, and while his defensive rating at 113 last season wasn't absolutely terrible, it still isn't good, and the win shares defensively, those type of things were bad, but we're talking about more kind of the positive things. And so last year, Josh Giddey had his career best three-point shooting percentage at 37.8%, also taking the highest number of threes per game at 4 3-pointers per game. That puts him at a solid enough number. And Josh Giddey being a respectable shooter is huge for him because with his ability to create off drives, with his ability to pass and create looks for others, if Josh Giddey is a respectable enough shooter, he was a 38% catch and shoot player last season as well, which added to his ability and his flexibility of playing with Coby White. If Josh Giddey can maintain being a decent enough three-point shooter, that changes the way defenses have to play him. And all Josh Giddey really has to do, I mean, I want him to do more than that. But the thing that Josh Giddey has to do the most shooting-wise is that if he can hit and make defenses pay for sagging off of him defensively at that three-point line, that changes the game for Josh Giddey, right? So he doesn't have to take 6, 8 3-pointers per game. I don't even want Josh Giddey to do that. The key thing for Josh is that when teams play him for the shot and they say, basically, we're going to make Josh Giddey shoot to beat us, make them pay. Hit the first couple of open 3-pointers, make them change the way that they play defense on you. If Josh Giddey can do that, the way you have to guard Josh Giddey completely changes. Josh Giddey is not a 3-level scorer, but I've talked previously before, he can make teams have to guard him as a 3-level scorer if he's just respectable from 3-point range because of his size, his quick first step, even though he's not the quickest player, and his ability to put his head down and use his size to get near the rim. All those things open up a lot for Josh Giddey. So as far as the over or under for Josh Giddey in the 3-point shooting, last year, 37.8% from the 3-point line. I'm going to say I bet it to be under that, but I'm not saying far under that, and I don't mean that as a negative. If Josh Giddey takes, and I do think the volume is probably going to go up a little bit, right? I don't think you're going to see Josh Giddey take 7, 8 3-pointers per game. I do think you're probably going to see him take about 4 or 5 3-pointers per game for sure. And if that happens, and even if he hits it at a 36% clip, I think that's enough for Josh Giddey to be respectable. Like, keep in mind, the season before he joined the Bulls, he shot the ball 33%. He took a 4% leap in 3-pointers while also taking an extra 3-pointer per game. So that difference, that's a huge difference for Josh Giddey in the number of, just to put that in perspective, right? Josh Giddey only played 70 games last season. The season before that, he played 80 games. But yet Josh Giddey took 35 more threes last season with 10 less games played and hit it at a much better percentage. That's the path that Josh Giddey needs to be on in the 2025-26 season as a shooter. And again, that's only a small portion of his game. You don't need Josh Giddey to be taking a lot of threes. So I think if he does that, that's going to be a key for Josh Giddey, kind of open up his game some. And I think a huge amount. And I think also, and another one to look at for Josh Giddey is the turnover number. He averaged 2.9 turnovers per game. The over under on that, I'd bet a push. I think that turnover number is going to stay the same, but I think his assist number is going to go up. He averaged 7.2 assists for the Bulls last year. I can easily see that going up to more 8 or 9 assists per game. If you can keep that turnover rate at around 2, less than 3 you want to be at, but have closer to 10 assists per game, that's a good place for Josh Giddey to be in. And especially with the offseason and the way that it's gone for Josh Giddey, he's going to have a lot that he has to prove on the court, and we'll see if he's able to do that. Andrew says, I hope he stays. Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, I don't think it's if he's going to stay. I think the bigger question is what does that look like? Is it the qualifying offer? Is it a shorter term deal? Do they agree on a more mid length of a deal in regards to that? Like, those are the bigger questions that I think when it comes to Josh Giddey for this upcoming season. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think at this point that he's going anywhere else. I mean, we've heard now from Mark Stein, Brett Siegel, even Casey Johnson. The Bulls they value Josh Giddey. Now, that is a bit of a counterproductive programming when you say you value a player as a foundational piece, and yet, we don't have a deal done yet, but that's not just on the Bulls either. So, we'll see what happens there. But I think that's a key thing for Josh Giddey this season is that if he can improve as a shooter with the percentage, or even if it stays the same with a higher volume, those are two very acceptable things for Josh Giddey. I think that shows that he's on a path to being more respected defensively. I think also that helps him be a better fit with Kobe White as well in the backcourt, which is still, in fairness, we saw a very small sample size of Kobe and Josh Giddey having great chemistry. We need to see a lot more of that. So there's a lot of intangibles that go into this. And, while this whole programming that we're doing here is about, picking an over under on a stat for a player next season, it really is about the expectations for that player just as much. And Josh Giddey has huge expectations coming into him, especially with the way that this offseason is gone. I don't think anybody would say that the expectations aren't there, whether, you have people looking at Josh Giddey and they want to see him fail. That's weird to me. It's always weird to me when people want to see the players in their jersey fail. It's just strange. It's just y'all are a little bit of weird people. But then again, I'll say this as well. Like, for the people that see Josh Giddey and just are more so not either negative or positive, or just like, all right, Josh Giddey showed some things, but I need to see more than that. This is a season and an opportunity he's going to have to focus on really showing exactly what you can be. I love being able to hold players to what they say about themselves. Josh Giddey, at the end of the season last year, he directly said, who I was towards the end of the season is more like the player that I believe I am. Now you're going to have an opportunity to go out there and prove that. And, hopefully Josh Giddey is able to do that. And if he does, great. Josh says Josh is probably going to have a good year. His playmaking, I expect to be lights out. It's just how good his offense is going to be. And I mean, that's you're not wrong on that one. One of the things that concerned Bulls fans is that how the Bulls looked in the playing game. Kobe and Josh Giddey could get nothing going. Now, it's not all on them, right? You need more shooting, and the hybrid zone defense completely has caused the Bulls fits all last season. And I'm really interested in seeing, like, adding a guy like Isaac Okoro, having Ayo Dosunmu come back. How does that help with that? And teams threw that at the Bulls off and on, even during their run. And of course, when Josh Giddey was hot, shooting over 40% from three, which is I think we all can admit that's an unsustainable number to maintain. It was kind of easier to beat that or overcome that. The Bulls are going to have to be a lot more consistent as a 3-point shooting team this upcoming year if they're going to want to be able to go further. And you guys know, I'm somebody who I legitimately think this team has a chance. I'm not saying that I'm predicting it's going to be easy, but they have a chance, I really think, to be a 500 or above team this year. 39 wins last year. To me, this team has not gotten worse. There have been teams that improve in the Orlando Magic and Atlanta Hawks, for example, but there have also been teams that are going to be taking a lot of steps back. I look at the Bucks as being the worst team this upcoming year. Of course, the Boston Celtics are going to take a bit of a step back. They're still above the Bulls. The Indiana Pacers are going to be going to have a rough season unless Ben Mathurin really wakes up this season and takes that superstar leap. So, we'll see. But to get back on it, Josh Giddey, the 37.8% 3-point shooting, I'm going to bet the under on that just slightly, but I think the volume is going to go up, which kind of offsets that a little bit. And if Josh Giddey can be a 37% three-point shooter for an entire season, taking 4 or 5 3-pointers per game, to me, that puts you in a pretty advantageous position if you're Josh Giddey for the opposing defenses. But with that said, we're going to move into the next topic where we're going to be talking about the biggest team concern, not just for a player, but overall team concern for the Chicago Bulls. But first, we got to get to a message from Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, property, or investments. And when you don't have a full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, and get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever needing to touch a spreadsheet. Even if you have shared accounts as well, you can track both shared and personal accounts together and even set goals between those two accounts. So if you're managing money with a partner, Monarch Money got you covered there as well. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNBA. More Locked On Bulls coming up next. All right, Bulls fans. So, with that said, let's go ahead and get into it. Whoa, what was that? Gotta play the music. I need the music anywhere for the cue, so there you go on the music. But with that said, I'll say this. Let's get into the next topic. The biggest team concern. Now, there are a lot of things to be concerned about with this team, right? The Bulls were terrible defensively. We've been bad defensively for the last couple of years. While we did add an on-ball defender in Isaac Okoro, we're getting Ayo Dosunmu back too. I still think one of the Bulls' biggest things is lack of rim protection. And that's been something that we have lacked here for a while. It's rim protection. We haven't had it. Even when Andre Drummond was there, which I said when we acquired Andre Drummond isn't a traditional rim protector in which you think like, oh, you're going to be blocking a bunch of shots. He can get some blocks, but Andre Drummond was more so a deterrent at the rim, right? You have rim protectors, which are shot blockers. You have guys that are so good on ball defensively that they protect the rim that way without getting block shots. And then you have deterrents, people that are they deter teams from going to the rim, and thus the percentage of attacking the rim goes down that way, right? So you have those ways of rim protection. The Bulls have none of it. They have none of it. Now, while Modest Buzelis was a really good shot blocker last year, make no mistake about that, and I think that's going to help. Noa Essengue, one of his best skills is rim protection, but I don't think we really think that the Bulls are going to play him a lot, at least not to start the season. And the three centers that we have for Zach Collins, Nikola Vucevic, Jalen Smith, none of them are rim protectors. Any of the way I just talked about protecting the rim, being rim deterrents, that none of them are. Zach Collins is probably the close to a rim deterrent because his on-ball defense is solid. It's not great, but it's solid, so maybe he can be a rim deterrent. Nikola Vucevic has averaged a block per game in his time for the Bulls, but we all know that dude ain't no rim protector. And then Jalen Smith is also a decent per-minute shot blocker, but he fell out of favor with Billy Donovan last year. I don't have high hopes that he's going to be playing heavy minutes coming into the season this year either. I would love to be wrong on that one if he earns that spot, but he's not. So rim protection is going to be a thing that unless Modest becomes a all-world shot blocker or Noa Essengue gets into the game early and his shot blocking translates right away, there are going to be some pretty big issues with the Bulls and rim defense. We've been last in the league in rim defense for the last few years, and that doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon. So thus, how then can the Bulls become a better defensive team without rim protection and without great perimeter defenders outside of a couple of players that are really good in that area? Our best perimeter defenders right now, Isaac Okoro, Ayo Dosunmu. That's really it. We have theoretical defenders in Dalen Terry, Julian Phillips, Patrick Williams, Patrick Williams' defense fell off a cliff last year. Maybe he can come back, but we don't have a lot of defense on the perimeter either. So what can the Bulls do defensively? And I think it's a simple, let me not say simple. Simple is not the right word. It's not the right word. But I do think there is a schematic thing that the Bulls can do here to try to become a better defensive team. You're going to have to stagger Ayo and Isaac Okoro, which I think is already going to happen. They play very similar roles, very similar positions. So I don't think you're going to have a lot of those times with those guys on the court together, which helps, which is perfectly fine. But then in key moments, you may have to have Ayo and Okoro out there together. And that's something we have not talked a lot about, right? Now, what does that look like? Because you would think theoretically Josh Giddey and Kobe are going to be part of your closing lineup. If you then add in Ayo and Isaac Okoro, that then puts 4 of your players that are out there on the court are all 2s and 3s, basically. That's no Modest. That's no Kevin Huerter. That's no Noa Essengue. That's no whatever. And you're going to have a center out there, right? Now, that's not feasible to play those guys a lot of minutes together. I do think we're going to see some lineups, some teams go small. Maybe you can go to that. But you're putting a lot hinges defensively on the Bulls. And I think that's where team defense plays into. The Bulls, in my opinion, are going to have to become masters of the zone defense. They are going to have to do that. And even in that, there's still some pretty big errors in that, but that's almost the only way that I can see this Bulls team being a really great defense, unless Modest takes a step. If Modest takes a big step defensively this upcoming year, which we have seen moments of Modest locking in defensively, I don't know how much of that's going to be the focus for him coming in this year, but if Modest takes a step defensively this year, we may be better. Have one of your wings and your power forward as solid defenders. You can get away with that. With Modest's length, all that type of stuff, you can get away with that. The other hope is that Patrick Williams actually wakes up and at bare minimum becomes a solid defender this year. I don't know about you guys. My faith in Patrick Williams is at an all-time low. I don't have much faith in Patrick Williams to really do anything this year. Not to say that he won't, but I'd rather be surprised than expect it, right? Noa Essengue, he's not going to play a lot. I don't believe he's going to play a lot for the Bulls, at least not to start. So even if he is the switchable defender, which he needs to add some bulk and some size before I really am going to feel comfortable with him guarding 4s in this league, there's some questions there too. So not to say that we have a terrible defensive roster. Well, no, I think I can say they have a terrible defensive roster. But even with that, they have their areas where scheme can overcome. And the Bulls have done it before. Look at the second year of the Chicago Bulls under Billy Donovan. I think that would have been the third year under Billy Donovan. We had Caruso. That's about it. Ayo somewhat too. But we were still a top 10 defensive team. Now, with Wes Unseld taking over the defensive calling responsibilities, with adding another consistent on-ball defender that's going to be healthy, the hope is you can take that a step further than what you had it with last year. Now, I'm not willing to necessarily bet on that, but it is something that you're hoping is going to happen that year as well, and that's why that's why Billy Donovan has turned the defense over to Wes Unseld. So it is up to him to get it done. Is he going to? I don't know, right? But the defensive aspect of this for the Bulls is one of the biggest concerns I have, because our offense, we had one of the quickest. I think we were the fastest paced team last year. We were top 5 in 3-point attempts. We were top 5 in 3-point makes, but 3-point percentage was down. Like I think we were still top 12, but that can improve some. So that's an area for growth for Bulls. Like the offense, I feel okay about the offense. I'm not going to act like I'm overly confident and feel like we're going to be some amazing offensive team, but I think that the offense can be good enough. You need your defense to be about middle of the pack. If you can get your defense to be about middle of the pack, you're off to something there. Can they? Will they? Won't they? We shall see. But I, for one, hope that this team has success with you. It's hard to be a team that can get those grind out wins when you are terrible defensively and you give up everything at the rim. You can't be giving up the middle like Mariah Mills. You can't do that consistently and expect to be a good team in the NBA. You can't. And so let's hope that this team can overcome some of those shortcomings to find their way, and we'll see what's going to happen there. But all right, let's get into the next topic. We're going to be talking about Noa Essengue in or out of EuroBasket. We'll talk about that right after this. All right, my Bulls fans. So last topic of the day, we've been talking about EuroBasket, and we talked about Nikola Vucevic, who his team actually did play. They got absolutely wasted by Germany today. And a lot of the questions that people have been asking is, well, is Noa Essengue playing in EuroBasket this year? And he is not on their roster for EuroBasket this year. He just is not. There was some initial thought where he played, I think, in the qualifiers, but he's not on the roster this year. And unfortunately, it is what it is. The final roster for France does include Jacques Richard. It includes Alexander Sarr. It includes Bilal Kalabali, I believe is how you pronounce it. Yabusele is on that roster, but no Noa Essengue. And many people have asked why that is. And I think this, Noa Essengue, people may not really pay attention to this, but he's been basically in Chicago almost since he got drafted. He's been working out. I would not be surprised if at media day we see a Noa Essengue that already looks like he's put on a couple of pounds of weight. I would not be surprised at that. And while I would love to see Noa Essengue play over in France, and play over in EuroBasket to kind of get a little bit of excitement over that, I am kind of glad that he isn't, because listen, European basketball is, and the gap between NBA and European basketball has shrunk every year, but it's still enough of a difference there. And I want Noah working with our player development department. I want him working to put on that weight. I want him working to impressing these coaches. I want Noa Essengue in the building in Chicago. I would have loved to see him. Like when we added Josh Giddey, the summer we added Josh Giddey, I covered the Australian national team, every game that they played, to kind of not only get myself familiar with Josh Giddey's game, but as like an introduction to Bulls fans to Josh Giddey who didn't watch a lot of OKC Thunder games. I would have loved to be able to say that Noa Essengue was playing over in EuroBasket, but the thing is that he's not. And I don't think that the Bulls asked him not to play. I'm not saying that at all. I think that they would have let him play if he wanted to play. But I do think Noah has attached, after playing in the summer league, and just that little bit of physicality that we saw Noah have to deal with in the summer league, I think that was enough of a wake-up call for Noa Essengue to realize this NBA ball is going to be different. I need to lock in. I need to prepare. I need to get ready for NBA basketball, and I'm trying to get on this roster right away. I'm trying to get minutes on this team right away. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to necessarily be successful in doing that, but I do think that Noa Essengue, I don't think he wants to sit around on the bench. Nobody wants to, maybe except P. Will. Nobody wants to sit around on the bench. But you look at Noah and how much he talks about, like, we've heard that Noah has as much competitive nature as Modest Buzelis, right? And a guy that is that competitive, that is that driven, the theory of him sitting on the bench until December, getting spot minutes here and there, I guarantee you that doesn't sit right with Noah. So between him, his trainers, working with Bulls trainers, whatever needs to be done to get him ready for NBA basketball, because that physicality is coming, and it's coming very fast for Noah. And the speed of the game is already enough to adapt to. When you have to adapt to the speed and your physicality is just not there, it's very difficult to get your rhythm going forward. Let's see. I want to see a lot of Noah this season. I don't care, man. Play the kid. Listen, I want to see a lot of him too. Listen, I want to see a lot of him playing, but it's Billy Donovan. So I think that part goes far into it. Albert says smart move for Essengue for training at Bulls. So listen, you got to get ready for NBA basketball. There's nothing really that simulates it, and we shall see what's going to happen there. What's going to happen with Noah. But Noah is a guy that if what has been said about the people that coached him in summer league, if what's been said about his coaches that have also talked about him since getting drafted by the NBA is legitimate, and he has that drive that people have been talking about, I love the fact that this kid has basically said, hey, listen, I'm not going to play for my national team this summer. I play for my national team every chance that I got. I'm about to get ready for the NBA. Now, I hope that in the future, Noa Essengue does play for his national team, because I think that that's something special. It's an honor. European players take that with a bigger badge of honor than what some American players do. So I hope that he's able to do that in the future. But this first year to lock in at the Advocate Center and to be working out day in and day out, I respect that for Noah. And we'll see what the future holds for Noa Essengue and the Chicago Bulls, and if he can get into that rotation this year, because, hey, listen, it's going to be difficult, but it's not an impossibility. But that's my time for today, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Locked On Bulls is free and available on every podcasting app and platform of your choice, as well as YouTube, the Odyssey app, Amazon Fire TV, Roku TV, Fubo TV, basically anywhere you want us, you can get it. We'll see you guys bright and early Friday. We're taking the day off tomorrow. See you guys early on Friday. Love you guys. Go Bulls. Peace, y'all.